Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing another Boson NetSim lab, and we're going to be labbing flexible NetFlow. I am Benjamin Williams, so let's go ahead and get into the objectives for this lab. It says, in this lab, you will learn the basic commands to configure flexible NetFlow on a Cisco router and to verify an existing flexible NetFlow configuration. So this is our lab topology right here. We have our collector off of this interface on R1, and we have PC1 off of this interface, and PC2 off of this interface on router 1. We did configure regular NetFlow in our last video, and flexible NetFlow is an addition on top of NetFlow. It gives us some more features to be able to track specific, like really specific flows within our network, depending on what we want. So flexible NetFlow gives us a little bit more wiggle room on how we want to collect data that's being transferred on the network. So we have our topology right here. We're going to keep this in top left, of course. We're going to have our lab instructions over here top right. And we're going to be doing all of our configurations down here in the CLI on the bottom screen. So let me adjust my camera so we can see the actual CLI itself. You just adjust it about right there. I think that's good. All right. So let's go ahead and get into task 1. We already read through all of the commands list that's right here and the descriptions as well. I forgot to mention that. And we also read through all of the IP address information. So it says task 1, configure flexible NetFlow. It says in this task, you will configure flexible NetFlow feature on a Cisco router. So question number 1, it says, what benefits does flexible NetFlow offer in comparison to traditional NetFlow? So let's click on this and get the description of what Boson says. So it says flexible NetFlow enables greater customization of traffic identification and provides scalability of flow data beyond that of traditional NetFlow. The ability to monitor specific network behavior as well as a wider range of packet information can provide administrators with more detailed information about the networks they manage. In addition, flexible NetFlow merges multiple accounting technologies into one, thereby providing a more simplified approach to network anomaly and security detection. So it looks like it adds a little bit more features. Like I said, it adds more configurations that you can watch out for. You can configure, different things to monitor certain traffic. And it says it also has multiple accounting technologies. So it looks like you just have a lot more features with flexible NetFlow. So let's move on. It says on router 1, configure a flow exporter named exporter1 to send NetFlow information to collector 10.1.1.100. Source the exported packets from loopback 0 interface and use UDP port 2055 to send the data. So let's go on router R1. Let's go into privilege exec with enable, global config with CompT, and let's do a flow exporter because we want to define an exporter name, and we want to name this all caps exporter 1. Context sensitive to make sure we're good. I think that's good right there. Now it says to send NetFlow information to 10.1.1.100. So let's do a destination of 10.1.1.100 here. And that should work. And then it says source the exported packets from loopback 0 interface. So we're going to do source here, context sensitive. And we want to do loopback 0. That's perfect. And we want to do a UDP port of 2055. So let's do a transport so we can define our UDP port. UDP, and let's do a 2055. Enter. Perfect. So that is task 1. And it says on router 1, configure a flow record named LandFlow1. Configure the flow records to uniquely match flows based on the following key fields. So let's exit export configuration mode, and let's do a flow. We want to do a, what are we doing? We're doing a record. So we want to do a flow record. And we want to name this NetFlow 1, all one word. And now we're in flow configuration role, I should say flow record configuration mode. And we want to uniquely match flows based on the following key fields. So first we're going to start out with IPv4 type of service bit. So we want to match IPv4 TOS, enter. We want to match the protocol net, so we're going to do match IPv4 protocol. Next, we want to match the destination address, so we want to match destination. Okay, well, let me do this. IPv4, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to list that. And now we can type in destination address. Perfect. And we want to match the source address as well. So match IPv4 source address. Perfect. Now we're moving on to our transport source port. So let's do a match. And we want to do a transport source port. And we want to match our destination port as well. So match transport destination port. And lastly, we want to match our input interface. So match no, that's not transport. That'd be, okay, our input interface. So we want to do interface input. Perfect. So that's it for instruction number 3. And it says configure the flow record to collect the following information from the packets in each flow. So we want to collect now. So let's do a context sensitive help, and let's just do collect because that's what it's saying. So collect. And we want to collect the IPv4 next hop address. So IPv4. No. So let's do collect, content sensitive help. And let's do a routing. See what this does. Routing. Yep. So next hop address. Okay. Incomplete command. I didn't put the IPv4. Perfect. So now we want to collect. We want to go into interface. And we want to collect the output interface as well. And let me highlight what I'm actually configuring so everybody can follow along and know where we're at. So we just did the output interface, and now we're doing the byte counter. So collect. This is some context sensitive. We want to do counter. And we want to do the bytes. And then we want to collect as well. We want to collect the packets next. So counter packets. And we also want to collect the first packet in the flow. So collect timestamp. And we want to do sys uptime. And we want to do the first packet that we see. And let's just do up. And then let's just change this into last because it also wants to do the last as well. So that's perfect there. So let's go ahead and move on to instruction number 4. It says, on router 1, configure a NetFlow monitor named monitor1 and assign it to the flow exporter named exporter1 and the flow record named NetFlow1. Configure the description of the flow monitor as primary NetFlow cache. So let's go to R1. Let's do the exit here. Get back to regular global config. And it says configure a NetFlow monitor named monitor1. So let me first highlight this so we know where we're at. All right, go back down here to the CLI, and let's do a flow monitor, and we want to name it monitor 1. Enter, and assign it to the flow exporter named exporter 1. So let's do that. So that's context sensitive, and let's do an exporter. And we want to do exporter 1. Okay, let me make sure I'm doing this right. It says, configure a monitor named monitor1 and assign it to the flow exporter named exporter1 and the flow record name LAN1. So let me do context sensitive help one more time. And yes, I think that's right. So I was doing it right. So let's do exporter. Just wanted to be sure before I typed everything in. Exporter 1. Enter. All right, and let's do a record. And we want to do LAN 1 here. LAN flow 1, I should say. LAN flow 1. Okay. And then we want to do a description as well. So description. And for our description, we want to say primary NetFlow. That should be capital F. NetFlow cache. Perfect. So now we have that. And next it's saying enable NetFlow on router 1 interfaces that are connected to PC1 and PC2 as input monitoring. So let's do an exit. And let's do a show IP interface brief. Do show IP interface brief. So we can see that probably our PCs, we can just look at the IP addresses that we have. And these are class C IP addresses. So we know that these are probably on our LAN because these can't be routed over the internet. The 10 dot can't either, but you know, we're looking. I know that these are connected down to the PCs. So that's 192.168.1.1 and 192.168.2.1. So we have the fast Ethernet 00 and the fast Ethernet 01. So let's do a interface fast Ethernet 00. And I think we could do a flow monitor. No. So it says enable NetFlow on router 1 interfaces that are connected to PC1 and PC2 as input monitoring. So maybe I need to do an IP flow, but I think that's regular NetFlow. Let me just look at what it wants me to do here. So yeah, it's going to be an IP flow. And then we're going to monitor and we're going to put monitor 1. And the same thing here. So I needed some help there because I didn't remember exactly what configuration it wanted me to do here. So it says in this step, you activated the flow monitor by assigning it to fast Ethernet 00 and fast Ethernet 01 interfaces. A flow monitor must be applied to at least one interface before it can be activated. The flow monitor cache is automatically created when the flow monitor is assigned to an interface. So, okay, I understand that now. So, IP flow monitor, and we're going to do a monitor 1 here. And then we're going to, before we hit enter, we're going to put input. And let's go into interface fast Ethernet 01. And let's do an IP flow monitor. And let's do a monitor 1. And let's do an input. Perfect. Alrighty, so we completed task 1. Let's go into task 2 now. It says verify the flexible NetFlow configuration. It says in this task, you will verify the flexible NetFlow configuration on router 1. Okay, so it says on router 1, view a summary of the flexible NetFlow configuration. Verify that the correct flow record and flow exporter have been assigned to the flow monitor. So let's do a in. Let's do a show flow monitor. Let's see what it does. So we can see that we have our flow record right here, which is LAN flow 1. We have our exporter here, which is exporter 1. We have our description that we configured with primary NetFlow cache. And then we have our flow monitor right here, which is monitor 1. So everything is correct on number 1. It says from PC1 ping PC2. So let's bring up PC1 and let's do a ping to 192.168.2.10 to make sure that, or 2.100 to generate some traffic. And we are able to ping PC2. Yep, every 5 cent file received, 0 loss. Perfect. As you can see right here, we can see the replies coming in as they come in one by one. So we just generated some statistics on the network. So we should be able to see that now. So it says, on router 1, display the NetFlow cache. How many flows are displayed? For each flow, note the value of the collected information and verify that the configured fields are included. So let's go to router 1. And what show command do we need to put in here? Let's do a show. Let's do a show cache. Okay, show flow. No. Maybe it's show IP flow. No. So I'm doing something wrong. Let me just give context sensitive help right here just to see what it wants. So it wants me to put show flow monitor 1 cache. Okay. So I can do that. So let's do a show monitor. No, show flow monitor. Okay, and then it wants me to put in monitor 1. If I can spell correctly, monitor 1 cache. Perfect. Let's close that down. All right. So let's see what the actual flow that it wants me to look at. It says how many flows are displayed. So we have a flow right here, which is the 192.168.1.100, and the destination is 192.168.2.10. And we have a flow back from 192.168.2.100 to 192.168.1.100. So we have 2 flows, and it says for each flow, note the values of the collected information and verify that all configured fields are included. So when we were going through our configuration, we made sure that we were collecting all of this information. So the source, the destination, we can see our type of service bit, my IP protocol, the next hop, the interface output, the counter bytes, the counter packets, the timestamp that it first was sent, and the last timestamp. So we configure all of that. So we can see the difference between regular NetFlow now and flexible NetFlow. We can see that we can collect all of this information, and it's very specific with flexible NetFlow, but we cannot do that with regular NetFlow. So this was a good lab. I learned a lot, and I see you guys in the next one. Hopefully, look, first let's grade this, make sure we got it right. Okay, we got everything correct. So we learned a lot in this lab. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.